Here's the CreepGeeks podcast. So it begins again. Welcome back to CreepGeeks podcast. This is season 8, episode 323.
Paranormal Passport, Ghosts in America, Haunted Highways, Do Cryptids Sense Natural Disasters, and Fast Space Internet.
Yeah. All right, so welcome back to the podcast. I'm Greg.
I'm Omi.
And we do the CreepGeeks podcast. So we're your hosts for the next 58 or 9 minutes or so, which is really about an hour and 17 minutes. Okay. That's about how long we go. So anyway, this particular podcast is our CreepGeeks podcast, and we broadcast paranormal news and share our strange experiences from our underground bunker in the mountains of western North Carolina.
Yeah.
Yes. All right, so bunker's kind of drying out, and so things are sort of getting back to, I won't say normal, because that's going to take years. We were in western North Carolina during Hurricane Helene. We were very, very fortunate, and we don't make light of any of the situation or the plight of any of the people that really got socked with this mean Helene hurricane. I was going to cuss, but I don't want to do that.
No.
Well, I mean, if you can't cuss the way you would when you were a sailor, then what's the point of doing it at all?
Okay.
Got some good ones, right?
Yeah.
So anyway, a couple different ways you could interact with the podcast. We have a toll-free number that you can call and leave a message if you want.
Yep, that phone number is 575-208-4025.
Very nice. We also have a website and Facebook and all that stuff. If you look for CreepGeeks, you're going to find us. So.
Very much.
Okay. So in the last podcast episode, we talked about several different things, but one of the things that we talked about was, some of the stuff that you were doing.
Yeah.
And then we also talked about some myths and, I don't want to say myths, but some...
Not accurate stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. So we got a couple new ones.
Okay.
But we're not going to go too crazy with it, but this is more factual. Some sort of information gathering has taken place, and it's given us a better idea of what happened in the area, because it wasn't necessarily, it's the storm, you guys weren't ready for a hurricane. No, man, it was way, way more than that.
Yeah.
It's landslides, mudslides, that sort of thing.
Yeah. So one update that I didn't put in here, McDowell County, we're down to most people being accounted for. That's a great thing. And unfortunately, we have lost 2 lives.
Wow.
We are very, very, very lucky as far as the region that we live in.
Yeah.
So our particular region fared well when it came to that. However, the whole northern half of our county has been affected by things like landslides, mudslides, dams breaking, flooding, stuff like that. An interesting fact that's come to light over the past week or so, different geologists and people who research this type of thing are saying that it's over 1,800 landslides in North Carolina due to Helene. And part of that was originally within the first couple of days after Helene, people couldn't even find the little devices and detectors. So now over time, we've found most of them.
So the sensors got washed away in a landslide, mudslides?
Pretty much, yeah.
Shocking.
So new math or so, it's 1,800 at least. I saw something, it was like some crazy number, like, what is it? 1,891. So almost 1,900.
It's a lot.
Yeah. On top of that, the state of North Carolina is estimating that western North Carolina experienced a record $53 billion in damages and recovery needs. So
that's a lot.
That's triple the damage caused by Hurricane Florence in 2018. That's a lot.
Yes. Yeah, we're very fortunate.
Yeah.
So speaking of unfortunate, in our little news segment here, because we have a bunch of different things to talk about, we do like the Brown Mountain Lights. We talk about them, research them, have gone up there and done some things and all that. So we were super excited when there was a Brown Mountain Lights Festival. This is like last year when we heard about it the first time. Mm-hmm. And so come to find out, this is in Morganton, North Carolina. It's not what you would hope it would be. A festival, celebrating Brown Mountain Lights and research and paranormals and ghost lights and stuff like that. No, it's like a music festival.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know how I feel about that. It's kind of like, it's the okie doke. Like, yeah, Brown Mountain Lights Festival. We're going to go check it out. See some paranormal stuff. Probably some Bigfoot, some other cryptid type stuff, UFO stuff. Nope. Garbage music.
I mean, there is some
Come on down to Garbage Town.
There's some lighthearted attempts at referencing aliens, UFOs, and unexplained sky phenomena.
Oh, so taking pot shots at people that enjoy this kind of thing.
Or pop culturizing, if that's a word, paranormal phenomenon.
Oh, yeah. So making everything cutesy, and then if you really enjoy it, then you're a weirdo.
It's not necessarily cutesy.
It's offensive.
Some of the promo videos are unsettling or creepy, so maybe that's what they're going for.
Because you got the one guy who believes in this kind of stuff, and he's making the videos. Everybody else is like, I'm going to listen to some, jazz on the water music or whatever.
I reached
kind of music
out,
festival type stuff.
I reached out last year because I thought CreepGeeks would be a good fit. So maybe I'll keep it on my radar and try to reach out again.
Well, if they're not going to
Hey.
That's like having a corn festival, right? And you're going to say, I'm going to call it Children of the Corn Festival. And people are like, oh, that's great. But, I don't know. It seems like.
But you could make that work because you just have children running around in a corn maze. And technically, it is literally correct. So
yeah, but it's not the basis behind the creepy movie and the folk fandom that goes along with it. So you're just insulting people that are serious about it. You're like making fun of it.
I don't think it's that. I mean, I think
we don't need people yucking it up at our expense because we like this kind of thing. We have enough stuff going on. We do. We have enough like bad actors in this whole paranormal thing, right? We also have enough like weirdos and whack jobs that are like involved in it, and they want to wind up getting on TV a lot.
Yeah,
and crazy hair. And I'm not talking about Giorgio Tsoukalos or Sucralose or Sokolos, however you say his name. Yeah, I mean he's got crazy hair to begin with. That's okay. That's his thing. There's other people that are just like, they're serious, right? And they're doing their thing, and you're like, you look like a crazy person. And you don't even know you look like a crazy person. And so it's just kind of like,
Your wife has crazy hair.
I know. That's why I stopped talking about it. When I started looking at you, I'm like, all right, well, this is not going where I wanted it to go.
There you go.
Yeah, it reminds me of the guy who was like in a rowboat or something like that and was fishing, and he's seen 25 UFOs, and they're like, that's Starlink. And he's like, no, it's not. It's like, okay. So he wasn't standing next to your stereotypical trailer or some sort of crazy thing where you got to, the whole sort of off-putting thing.
I had to turn off comments on one of my UFO videos because I was, whoa, guess what? I seen some, and they're all within the past month or so.
Yeah, like, welcome to Starlink. That ain't it.
Yeah.
It's okay. It also happened in New Mexico. The guy had seen the same thing, and they said, it's Starlink. And he said, I'll be the judge of that.
Or the new one, Starlink is shooting down.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
shooting
down
the comet.
Yeah.
Time-lapse type picture, but.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know how the festival's going to go. So if you're in the area and you think it's cool or whatever, let us know. But if it doesn't have a bunch of Brown Mountain Lights stuff that's kind of serious about it, then I don't want to hear it. I don't want to go listen to garbage music festival.
Or music that's just not your music that you're into.
Thereby,
it's
garbage.
Don't say that because everybody says my music is garbage. We don't know.
Yes, you do.
Don't judge.
So, I mean, you can listen to garbage. Garbage music.
Just because it's not our cup of tea.
Well, look, we can have different cups of teas. First off, I don't drink tea. I don't like tea. I like coffee. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Gave that up with the American Revolution.
Oh, stop it.
So, take this tea, throw it in the trash. Come on down to Garbage Town. Garbage Festival.
Stop.
Do. All right. So anyway, this is something that I sort of in an article that I seen, and I started thinking about it. Right. So NASA has been doing some weird stuff, and one of the things that they've done is they beamed a cat video across deep space with lasers.
Okay.
And I'm like, yeah, wow. And it was like a pretty far distance, right?
Yeah.
And this stupid laser cat video transmission had broadband speeds way better than what we experience here in rural North Carolina. So it kind of got me mad. I'm like, well, you got to be kidding me, right? They can beam a cat video across space. I understand, well, space is a vacuum, and I don't want to hear all that junk. Fact is, on Earth, we should have faster internet speeds in rural areas, period. Mm-hmm. And this last hurricane, where there was no cell phone communications or any of that sort of stuff, should be testament to that. People couldn't call. They couldn't call for help. You're trapped, whatever. It's like, this is 2024. You can beam a cat video across space, but you can't call somebody 10 feet away from you in a natural disaster?
This is a 15-second video transmitted at, 16 or 6.25 megabits per second, right? So operators...
Is it big M or little m?
Little m's.
Well, this is kind of slow.
Yeah, so operators managed to maintain a 6.25 megabits per second download link, is what this says. It's a 15-second video. Your average reel or TikTok in between 7 and 15 seconds. And we live in Western North Carolina, where I might watch one reel, but when I watch the second one, buffer. TikTok, it just stops responding.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, in places like Asheville and other places, aside from, because it wasn't just Asheville, had no service whatsoever.
Yeah. There's spots in downtown Old Fort where people are like, great.
Yeah.
I have to walk all the way over here, across town, so I can hold my phone up and shout into it.
Yeah. So this stupid satellite across space, right,
Yeah.
gets better internet than we do.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of aggravating. But the one shining thing for us was Starlink. Starlink actually worked. We didn't lose internet connectivity, which left us open to being able to communicate and that sort of thing. Mm-hmm. Right? It just seems kind of, and I get it, it's an experiment about communications and things like that. But at the same time, it's really sort of aggravating because there were people that really could have used the ability to communicate, right?
Yeah.
And so it put me on and we've complained about Starlink in the past just not being fast enough. I'm a Starlink fanboy now. I'd wear a SpaceX Starlink shirt because we had communications, right? Yeah. And on top of that, if you were affected by Hurricane Helene and you were a Starlink customer, they're pretty much saying, oh, you know what? You don't need to, we were going to give you a credit for your bill until the end of the year.
Yeah.
That's pretty serious business. They didn't have to do that. I mean, and they brought in Starlinks. They set up Starlinks for people to use. They started using satellite to text feature.
Yeah. To
sort of test that out with T-Mobile, which is good. I'm glad it was T-Mobile because T-Mobile was one of the worst.
Yeah.
Because this happened the other day, went to the store, and I'm sitting there, and my phone says 5G, LTE, UTC, whatever, right? Super ultra fast kung fu speed. Mm-hmm. I couldn't even update my apps.
Yeah.
And we're in a bright open. It's where we had speed. It's just like, why are the speeds so terrible? And you can't say 3 weeks after a hurricane that the reason why speeds are terrible is because of what? Because of the hurricane?
It's because
your power got turned back on to the tower. Why is it so terrible?
And people don't understand because, okay, both of us come from an IT background. We came from Virginia, which, internet and high speed were more readily available. We lived in Albuquerque where there were even faster speeds available for many people. Here, people don't understand that, well, for the past decade at least, their internet and their cell phone have been intrinsically tied and piggyback off each other. On top of that, many small towns are using outdated frequencies. I actually talked to some people about this.
Yeah, I get all that.
But the consumers don't realize that. Whether they're here in North Carolina or they're outside asking questions aloud, to keep the conversation alive, people don't understand that the infrastructure was not updated, has not been maintained.
Exactly, and they're at fault for that. And they know this. And I would love to be at a meeting when they say, do you have any questions? Yeah, why are you so slow? Well, it's a BS.
Yeah.
Update your stuff. There's no reason for this to have happened.
But we don't have people who are educated in that in power to help us make better decisions or ask the right questions to change our outcomes. And that's unfortunate.
Yeah, that's garbage.
So, yeah. And
Yep. So Starlink basically worked out very well. people could buy Starlink. If you're in a rural internet free area, or free as in like super slow, and you're sitting there and you're wondering, man, I wish I had service or whatever, Starlink will work. If you could find a clear spot in the sky, it'll work. And it may not be the fastest, and you may not be able to, game at the right refresh rate that you want or whatever, but it still works, and it works very well. So we actually have a link in the show notes for a bunch of different things. And one of them is that, I put a little spot that says get Starlink for rural internet access. So if you get Starlink, you get like a free month when you sign up or something. I'm not exactly sure because we already have it. But if you are in North Carolina and you have Starlink and you go to their website, you can go and create a help ticket. And they tell you on the webpage, where you can get a credit to the remainder of the year if you've been affected by Hurricane Helene. I mean, that can save you a couple $300. It might be the difference between getting a new pair of shoes have been washed away and then not.
Yeah.
Because people's like, you don't need internet to survive. Yeah, you kind of do. Because if your phones don't work,
you need some form of connectivity
Yeah.
to call FEMA. You need some form of connectivity to call emergency services. You need some form of connectivity to let your relatives know you're alive.
call a hospital,
Yeah.
reschedule appointments, figure out where you can get gas, figure out where you can get food and water, figure out if you have to go to school or bring your kids to school. I mean, is the mail working? What's the best way for me to get places? If you're not relying on phone lines, and you can get it from the sky, why not? So I do think it's funny that some of our neighbors around here all of a sudden have figured out that Starlink exists, and it's like, oh, I got Starlink and it's amazing. It's like, where were you? Where were you 5 years ago?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, welcome to the club. We've had Starlink so long our equipment's starting to get outdated. I do check it, though. It's like, oh, can I get faster speeds? Yeah. Mm-hmm. So, and they do have new plans. So, yeah, I love SpaceX. I love Starlink. They made an awful situation bearable in a way that was very useful for us. A lot of people are destroyed by this whole thing. And, So, anyway, that's enough on that. So, what?
So I'm looking at the next topic that we're going to talk about, and
what is it? Because I don't even know where I lost place. And I started going off on a rant.
we did a 4-minute Starlink ad.
It wasn't an ad. Listen, don't make it like that. I don't think you understand, man.
So
we could talk when first responders couldn't.
Just
right?
Yes.
All right. Don't make me turn this podcast around.
Okay.
Don't make me buy Starlink Mini
and
strap it to the van.
5 minute.
So as long as it takes. Guess what? Go ahead. I will turn off your internet access.
I'll drive away.
Ooh, so will I. And you know what? And when I get tired, I'll pull over and sleep in my luxurious camper van. Because I have food now that I can put in it.
I'm very curious why you put the Discover the West Virginia Paranormal Trail in here.
Because that's what the link is titled, and should you actually click on it, it's part of Paranormal Passport. These states are magically creating these paranormal passports where you can go to places and check in and get points and stuff and little spiffy badges.
Yeah.
So West Virginia, who does have a lot of paranormal stuff going on, thinks it's a new thing, and they're like, look what we did. It's like, hey, you're not alone, man. You got got Vegas, and other places. And I put it in there because it's kind of a neat thing. It gives you a thing to do where you can go out and you can sort of reach these little, little places and check in, just like you do a national park where you bring your little passport book and you get it stamped. It's sort of the same thing. The only gripe I have is that some of the things aren't like really paranormal. They're like, hey, come check out this miniature golf course. It's paranormal themed. I mean, it's just fun stuff.
Oh.
Do you see it now?
Well, yeah, it's funny because it's like every single one, including the one I told you about earlier this month, Visit NC doing something.
Yes.
But West Virginia is taking it a step further. That's cool. One of the prizes is one from Liz. That's really cool.
Yes. Why do you think I put it in here?
But Visit NC doesn't have any rewards.
Well, being as you're in sort of that department, why don't you reach out?
I did.
On the spot.
On something else.
Well, sure. It's time to reach out again.
They made an update, so I'm very glad about one of those updates. But yeah, some of these locations, I mean, yeah, let's.
So I put it in there.
Yeah.
So that, and the links, of course, everything we talk about in the show notes is there. So that if you want to go explore some of the paranormal stuff, and if the state is kind of sponsoring it,
Yeah.
why not?
That's really
I think
cool.
that all states should do something like this. I mean, you have your normal passport stuff for natural places and events and also national parks. Why not do it for paranormal?
You know what I've noticed, though? So far, most of these ones on the West Virginia site.
Did you notice the little ghost that
Yeah.
follows your cursor around?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of cool. That's old school, right?
Most of these at least have internet or cell phone connectivity so you can actually check in.
Shocking.
I don't know about. Ooh, this looks cool. This Flinderation tunnel. That's kind of neat.
Well, you might have to wait till you get outside of it.
Yeah, but
yeah, so we have links to this sort of thing,
Yeah.
but it's westvirginiatourism.com, and you can join the paranormal trail. You can sign up, and you can get your little passport, and you can check in when you go to those places.
now Kentucky's after dark is just terrifying. I mean,
Yeah.
some of these places look. Ooh, not a tunnel. Powell County, Kentucky. That looks. Oh, I want to go there.
Well, let's go back to West Virginia since you hijacked it. But
Yeah.
some of the things if you go and you check in at 3 locations, you can receive an official Paranormal Trail sticker, which I like the sticker. It's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Go to 10 locations and you can receive an official Paranormal Trail beanie. I could care less. Well, I don't wear beanies, right?
Yeah.
But if you check in at all locations, you receive a limited edition Paranormal Trail print.
Okay.
So they're offering prizes, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I thought that was kind of a neat thing.
Wait, do you have any time limit on when you can do these?
I didn't go that far into it.
I don't see.
Well, I mean, I looked at the list of some of the places, and we've been to a majority of them. And I'm like, well, does it count in the past? I've been there a couple times. So like, do I have to go back out there just so I can take my phone? And is it geo-locked? Is it all based off geolocation or what?
It is because they're using Bandwago, which requires a 0.25 mile radius of each location to check in.
Dang.
So, yeah.
But yeah, I would like to see all states do this.
Yeah.
Well, maybe not all. Some states, I don't think there's enough
Gosh,
to.
we should go.
Yeah.
I just want a sticker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, I got an idea. Let's spend $500 to go get a sticker. Gas to and from, Mothman Pizza, that kind of thing.
How can I do
Right.
that?
Got to find a parking lot to sleep in, the old camper van, like we did before. I think we went to Ohio and slept in Ohio and then drove over to West Virginia
Yep.
because it was more, it was better for some reason. But yeah, so I thought that was pretty cool. Put it in the podcast, and there are a couple different states doing it so far. So if you're looking for like a road trip type stuff to maybe go see some paranormal junk that you check off a box, get a little stamp in your passport, if you will, maybe win some prizes. Yeah, you can totally do it. So, Kentucky and who was the other one? Nevada. I think I said Vegas, but Nevada has a supernatural sightseeing, sort of the same thing. So if they make this paranormal passport thing, 50 states and make it sort of uniform, I think that'd be really cool.
Yeah.
Because there's a bunch of people that could care less about going and seeing natural things or, state parks or whatever. But you put something like this in play. Like
Yeah.
New Orleans should be doing this. This is something touristy that New Orleans would do. Take the tour or whatever.
And it's not a bad investment either because I'm looking at the
No, it's not.
backbone on some of these and I'm like, we could do this. So,
Yeah, totally.
yeah.
I think it's pretty fun. So we do have links in the show notes. So you can discover the West Virginia Paranormal Trail or Kentucky After Dark, or you can do the Paranormal Passport, supernatural sightseeing in Nevada.
Yeah.
Now, if you know of one that we've missed or maybe it's not known, but it's known to you in your location, send us a hookup list. Let us know.
Yeah.
So,
But I do think it's interesting that these states are slowly adopting the after dark or dark tourism or paranormal tourism.
well, why haven't they? That's the whole thing. It's dumb. It's an opportunity, especially after, like during COVID with all the crazy stuff, right? And all the paranormal shows, UFO shows, all that stuff. You think they would have totally embraced it. They had like 4 years to plan.
No.
get you out there and doing stuff.
I sit in on some conversations, and it still does not either meet the good taste criteria, or there's a lot of individual beliefs that get in the way.
Yeah. Well, people like that. How do I say this? When they finally go away, change can occur.
Yes.
You know, we want the young people to stay in our community, but we're not going to do anything to make them want to stay. And the things that they want to do and possibly invest in or create a business for, we're not going to let it happen because for whatever reason, we don't like it based off of ideas of things that have happened 30, 40, 50 years ago.
Oh, you mean making an attractive destination that appeals to many diverse demographics so that should one aspect of your destination get irrevocably changed, you can still attract other tourism and other people who are interested in your region?
I was talking about more along the lines of bars and tattoo shops and stuff, make that more presentable. Like, hey, you can get a tattoo.
So,
if you live in a town where you can't get a tattoo somewhere in the town, then you're probably who we're talking about.
Yeah.
Because only criminals and thugs get tattoos. Doesn't matter about military, doesn't matter about history, doesn't matter about art and liking all that stuff and self-expression.
We now
you got a tattoo, you're a dirtbag.
We now have 2 downtown tattoo parlors.
But you can't get a hot dog. Come on down to Garbage Town.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just don't like it when somebody's personal opinion basically changes and wrecks everything. Well, I think that's tacky. Who cares what you think? There is a whole world out there that may or may not differ from your view. So, and if you're heading in their town and, you you don't have to show that to me. Of course, I didn't say religious people. I did now.
Yeah.
I mean, all that's balanced, right? It should be balanced. But if you got a small town, you need money. Why not embrace some of the things that people might want to actually go to your small town, do and say or frequent, or maybe, bring some money to it. Because, as capitalism is an evil, evil thing, it's kind of necessary. If you want your town to thrive, if you want people to stay in it, you kind of got to give them, a thing to do, maybe make some money so they can pay.
Yeah.
Like rent. Eat a sandwich. You shouldn't have a town where Walmart is what actually supports the entire town.
Yeah.
As much as people hate Walmart, there's towns that exist solely for Walmart or from Walmart. Yeah. Anyway, now that Omi's done ranting.
Oh, you did more talking than I did.
Yes, I know.
Oh, wow.
So I thought that the terrorism thing was actually pretty cool. So kind of stuck that in there, right?
Yeah.
You know what I've noticed over the past 2 weeks? What? My ability to judge time is way off.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I know how long an hour is, and I even know what time it is half the time. I'm like, oh, it's 2:22 a.m. or whatever. It's been off by like at least an hour.
Okay.
What's up with that? Is something going to happen? Are we having like solar spots? Does anybody know if we're having like big sunspots or something crazy, some sort of EMF disturbance or whatever?
No.
Because I'm sitting there looking, how long do you think we've been talking?
About an hour.
Yeah, 28 minutes.
Really?
Yes.
I think part of it, though,
isn't that nuts?
Because there's studies about people who are isolated or kept away from certain things or natural disaster. A lot of times, once they're back in a safe situation, that they kind of lose track of things because they're trying to right themselves or compensate for the period of time that they were in tragedy or
that may
whatever.
be true for some people. I think it's because so much land mass has been shifted around in this area. The magnetism's all wonky.
Okay, that could be one.
So since the magnetism's all wonky,
I could think it's trauma. You can think it's magnetism.
it's the same thing.
Okay.
One leads to the other, right? Think about all the lack of birds.
Yeah.
Those guys fly by the magnetism, the Earth's lines of flux, that sort of thing. Like
Which
pigeons have lodestone built in.
Terrifying because the birds aren't back. Only the buzzards and the crows and the ravens are back.
Yeah, smart ones.
And some owls.
Smart ones. They never left.
Yeah. They're making out pretty good though, sadly.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, one of the Asheville / Hurricane Helene / Western North Carolina things I've seen where people are like basically going through and doing efforts to rebuild and bring things back. And they're like, radiation, we've been contaminated with radiation. And the idea is that a truck carrying nuclear waste was swept away in the flood, contaminating everything.
Okay.
Check your boots and your pants and all your clothes for radiation. So one of the YouTubers who went to Tennessee, basically came back and he heard all that, got all freaked out and pulled out his little Geiger counter on the video. Of course, content's content. And it was like, and the readings were less than normal, which means there's like not even your regular radiation, man. You got no radiation.
Yeah.
So, but it's ignorant things like that. Yeah. And I can totally see where you could have exposure issues from, like, maybe you're trying to do cleanup or get things fixed next to a factory that had chemicals in it. And this factory, the chemicals got released, and sure. But, radiation. We lost it. Oh my God, it's radiation, right?
Yeah.
I just think it doesn't help. I mean, it'll be funny in a year. It's just, kind of aggravating right now.
It is. I mean, we have concerns, but that's not currently one of them. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's some weird stuff. Mm-hmm. So Space Force is actually tracking a new debris field after a communications satellite breaks apart.
Okay.
Yes. Why
did the satellite break apart?
That's a good question. It's okay. So remember how we talked about SpaceX getting a hard time about not being safe or whatever? And then you had Boeing. Boeing couldn't even retrieve its own people.
Yeah.
And then there's astronauts, and we also had a problem with Boeing jets and planes and things like that having issues. And there's been the whole conspiracy theory where people that are whistleblowers have been getting killed, right?
Yeah.
So this communication satellite broke apart, and it created a bunch of smaller fragments, and it puts them all in a geostationary orbit. This is after an unexpected failure rendered it irrecoverable, littering space with more junk, which is going to increase the collision chances with other spacecraft.
Yeah.
So it was a Boeing satellite.
Okay.
It seems like their quality control is probably not as good. So the Intelsat 33E satellite, which is designed to provide communication services to Europe, Africa, and parts of Asia-Pacific region, lost power after experiencing an anomaly on Saturday. So working closely with Boeing, the satellite manufacturing, to address the situation. And the company has basically put that in a little statement there. Shortly afterwards, U.S. Space Force confirmed the breakup of the Intelsat 33E and began basically tracking the debris from it. So the debris is pretty small, right?
Yeah.
So what kind of thing can happen in space to blow this thing into small fragments, create a debris field?
Laser?
A laser would poke a hole through it.
Okay.
Cut it in half.
Explosion?
Could be. Something blew it up. Maybe. Did it blow up? Did it blow apart? Remember we talked in a podcast a while ago about how every communication satellite has a tiny little satellite that follows it around.
Yeah.
Probably from other countries. And it'd be a good idea to put some sort of presence in space to protect your assets.
Yeah.
And maybe you want to create something like the Space Force to track that kind of thing, just to make sure that something like having your communication satellite getting blown up doesn't actually happen.
Yeah.
So what is the issue with this Boeing satellite? Was it actually an issue? Or did something blow it up?
I don't know.
So there you go. You should pretend to be slightly less interested.
Okay.
In space.
I'll
Space is
harder.
important. Guess what's important?
Space.
Yeah. See, it's kind of crazy because you don't really need to blow it up. You just you can hit it with a kinetic weapon, right? You can push it out of the way. You can poke a hole in it. You can render it useless. You don't have to blow it up and make it create a big just debris field. So what would cause that?
I don't know.
I mean, how do you blow stuff up in space? It's not as easy as you see on TV.
No.
So I don't know. And then one of the links in this article, which is basically come from Gizmodo, secret Russian satellite breaks apart for second time, spawning debris cloud. So why did that one blow up?
Huh.
So that was in 2017.
Yeah.
is when the Intelsat 33E launched. So what if these things are just created to blow up and they're like, we're done, and they just blow it up and they're like, wait a minute, man, you should have waited. Now they created a debris field.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. But Boeing's had some hard times so far here recently. Yep.
Yeah.
So there's been about 16 breakup events in near geostationary orbit. So, and that's according to Jonathan McDowell. He's an astrophysicist from the Harvard-Smithsonian Center for Astrophysicists.
Okay.
Or astrophysics, I should say. This place is just full of smart people. Right. So,
Okay.
Yeah. Well, there you go. They're going to have to do something to go clean up all this trash. It's going to be pretty hard to keep and safely launch and retrieve things.
Yeah.
You get this big ring of just trash. Come on down to Garbage Town. Welcome, planet Earth. You know what I mean? Because look at it. It's like it's a trashy little planet. I'd fly right by it, too.
Yeah, but then you got to wonder, because there's when you do start to look at even other planets in our own solar system, how they have Saturn has rings. Granted, that's like,
well, how many dirt rings
frozen.
do we need, like cruising around our planet here past this filthy little planet?
Maybe we want to match Saturn or something. I don't know.
Well, Saturn's rings are going away.
Oh.
Yeah.
So.
I think theirs is just mainly dust and ice and stuff. Maybe some rocks.
Earth's
we got garbage.
Yeah, Earth's doing steal her look.
Yeah, it's like we got mylar, aluminum foil, girder beams, all sorts of crazy stuff.
Yeah.
Probably some lithium batteries.
Yeah.
Yeah. Bags of frozen urine and fecal poop.
Stop.
It's true. Where do you think all that stuff goes? Do you think they can release that stuff from like the International Space Station and say, if we use all of our processing power and all of our great wisdom and computer stuff, they could like release a fecal pouch?
No.
Or pee pouch and know that it's going to burn up or maybe possibly not burn up in the atmosphere over like a certain country?
I don't think it.
Like, oh, why is this rain tastes bad? Don't drink the rain.
Stop.
The rain is bad.
Just stop.
You know it's going to turn into ice, right? It's like Joe Dirt eating French fry off a porta potty plane poop.
Stop.
Pooperoid.
No.
Yeah. So that's all I got about that. Yeah. So Space Force is tracking some debris. And I went from that to this. Scientists uncover a hidden sixth sense in geckos.
That's
Right?
pretty cool. Yeah.
It does, because it's going to lead us to our follow-on question.
Okay.
Did I put it at the very top of the podcast and blew right over it?
Yeah.
So they're thinking with the geckos, right, that it's little extrasensory perception, or at least the idea that it has extrasensory perception. It's more related to sound. So what they found is that it has a hidden and unexpected auditory sixth sense, these geckos. So scientists have figured out that the geckos use a specialized part of their inner ear, known as the saccule, to detect low-frequency vibrations. And what makes that so cool about the gecko is that it's previously not been, it's been unrecognized in reptiles.
Yeah.
Which my thought is, just because you've seen it in a gecko doesn't mean you know where to look for it in something else. They probably haven't looked for it or haven't identified it yet.
Yeah.
In some other reptiles. But if it's a part of the inner ear that can detect those low frequency vibrations and stuff, does that fall kind of like infrasound? Infrasound's not that low, but it falls below human hearing, right? I'm not asking you the question. I want to put the statement out there. If that be the case, where this gecko can create sort of a sixth sense from being able to feel or hear those low frequency vibrations, right? And so it sort of triggers something, let them know something's going to happen. What if we have the same thing? We just haven't identified it yet because we don't know we're supposed to be looking for it. So when you go out in the woods and you get that sort of really weird, creeped out feeling, is it your sixth sense, your spider sense, or is it just the fact that your brain and your ears are going, man, something's going on? You know what I mean? Exercise caution. Right?
Yeah.
Because if that be the case, that explains a lot, because we know that animals, and some animals like lions and stuff, have infrasound, and the idea that Bigfoot has infrasound. And when it does a guttural sort of roar or whatever, you could feel it in your chest.
Yeah.
But what if your brain and your ear and your auditory senses and humans and just in general are more finely attuned to sort of give you a heads up? Like, you don't know what it is, but something's coming before you actually know what it is.
I think for humans and larger animals, yes. I think yes, it's something larger, something ominous, or something you can't quite comprehend. Something is out there, and it's a sense that we've lost over years, and now we're just filled with this general anxiety or just creeped out
maybe
feeling.
we haven't lost it. We're just not tuned into it anymore.
We're not trained to use it like we were.
Finely attuned anymore.
Yeah, is what I'm trying to say is, and maybe it was more active when we were nomadic and we had to travel and stuff like that. For these animals, though, I do think it's kind of important that they have it. Like for this gecko, it probably helps them, if this gecko's camouflaging on a leaf and just the faintest motion, of another leaf moving nearby, its sixth sense probably helps it change that color to be a little more shaded of a leaf.
Yeah.
For us, it might be the difference between one person making it during a bear attack and one person not making it.
I think we've lost some of our edge when it comes to that sort of thing because right now the biggest predator for humans is other humans.
Yeah.
So when you get people go out in the woods, they want to do stupid stuff like go up to a big giant, bison. Let me pet the bison. And they're shocked when they're thrown in the air, because they can't figure it out. So typically associated with balance, the saccule is part of the inner ear that allows geckos to sense vibrations through mediums like the ground or water rather than through airborne sounds like traditional hearing. And the sensitivity to vibrations of that thing is between 50 and 200 hertz, and it complements the gecko's regular auditory system. So it's like an addition, right?
Yeah.
And this finding basically suggests, I don't know, it's just significant when you consider it with other reptiles, such as snakes or different species of lizards. So they're saying that the gecko has a sort of a leg up on this kind of thing.
I mean, maybe snakes and maybe certain other reptiles might have it, because if you think about just how fast a venomous snake can strike, it's almost
not as fast as a kitty cat.
It's almost like it's tuned into its body,
Yeah.
where that reaction or detecting that ever so invisible change in the environment causes that snake to strike quicker than its brain can process.
Yeah, and it's funny you bring it up about snakes, right? A lot of snakes and lizards were thought to be mute or deaf in the sense that they don't vocalize sounds or hear sounds well, right? But it turns out that they may potentially be communicating via vibrational signals using this sensory pathway instead. And that really changes the way scientists have thought about animal perception after all.
Yeah.
So they went from thinking, he just can't hear nothing to, well, maybe this animal is smarter than I think they are. Or maybe they're just not that dumb.
Maybe they perceive and take into account our environment through different methods than we do.
Yeah. It's like when scientists look back to settlers in the past. They're just dumb. They're just way dumber than we are, right?
Well, if you think, okay, so the part of Virginia we lived in, we had a very significant copperhead and water moccasin problem. And I tried to be smart about it because I had two dogs that were very curious. And, one of them, he was also very loud. And I thought, hey, if me and the big dog are loud, that'll help us avoid things like other predators and, snakes and reptiles. And no, it helped us avoid predators, but
predators didn't hear, right?
No amount of noise. However, if you stomped around or if Ben would roll around on the ground, that got snakes' attention.
Which goes back to the walking stick.
Yeah.
You can walk around tapping that stick on the ground.
Yeah.
So when you see these old geezers out hiking trails and they got their little sticks and you see them just like firmly planting that stick in the ground, sure, it's for balance and traction, that kind of thing, but it's probably also to scare away the rattlesnakes.
Yeah.
Especially in the desert, stomping that stick around. So you have to bring a stick all the time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So with the sixth sense in geckos probably being caused by some sort of audio enhancement or auditory enhancement. And then the question that you brought up that came from one of your friends, we call it from the parking lot, right? Because we catch questions from people in the parking lot. We try to put them in the podcast when we remember. And so the idea is what?
So
or the question, I should say, is what?
And this one was actually in a drive-through. But anyways.
I'm not going to change it from the drive-through. That's weird.
If Hurricane Helene caught everyone off guard, everyone, why haven't we found any Bigfoot or cryptid remains during rescue and recovery efforts? And that's a very valid thought.
Sure.
With all the work that I have done over the past month or so and all the efforts that some of my friends and coworkers have gone through, unfortunately in certain areas, there's a high death toll. In other areas, we still have lots of missing people. In other areas, or even areas close to where we live, they are still trying to reach trapped people and missing people. And there's still rescue efforts in place out here. And you would think with the amount of territory some of these search and rescue people are doing by foot, by drone, by whatever. At one point where we live, they actually had like 10 drones scanning one specific area just to look for heat signatures, look for changes in elevation, all sorts of stuff. Why haven't we found, unfortunately, a deceased or expired cryptid like Bigfoot, especially here in Western North Carolina?
I think if you live outside and that's your world, you are more finely attuned to things that are going to happen or may happen than the regular human.
You would think that.
I think that, before the storm got here, birds went away.
Yes.
Right? Have you seen this? I've just now seen a squirrel the other day. I think animals know. And I think if you live in that environment and you're more attuned to it because you're out there and exposed to the elements, that I think you kind of know when things are going to happen. And you do the, I'm going to get out of here.
I would
before
agree.
Things get worse.
But, you gave two examples of smaller creatures, squirrels and birds. During this whole thing, we have found the remains of coyotes, some bears, not all, luckily. So maybe that kind of helps the other argument.
Well, that's because they probably didn't have somewhere to go.
Some deer, but if we're finding some of those larger wildlife who do live outdoors, then I think we'd find a Bigfoot.
Maybe.
Now, and then unfortunately, dogs who are working dogs and live outside, some of them haven't made it, like guard dogs. There's groups of or herds of cows that only half of them made it, Those
but you're also
outside.
looking at animals that are basically relying on other things to be fed, clothed, whatever. Right? A guard dog, he's there to guard. That's his job.
Okay.
Right? A cow is just there to eat.
Okay.
And they know where they can go, where they can't go.
Bear
is basically a product of his territory.
Okay.
But something like a Bigfoot, and the idea that Bigfoots actually migrate and travel the easiest way to sort of traverse one distance to the other using the path of least resistance, which is like railroad tracks, follow the rivers and stuff. I think they left.
But,
if there were any, I think they would know to either seek higher ground, seek shelter, because you also remember it rained for like 2 days before the storm ever even got here.
But here's the thing. Okay, so Spruce Pine, which is a much higher elevation than where we are, and North Cove. That North Cove is where the valleys kind of bottom out, and you're at the lowest before you get higher. Linville Falls, basically part of the Pisgah National Forest, into the Blue Ridge Mountains area. Those areas, there's low-lying, and you would actually flee upward towards the Blue Ridge Parkway as well as Spruce Pine. And we had significant mudslides.
Yes, but we also have thousands upon thousands upon thousands of caves.
Okay.
Everywhere.
And we have 1,800 landslides.
Sure, but if you're in a cave and you're higher up and the landslide doesn't affect you, you can have a landslide come down from, you could be standing next to it. Your house could be fine. Somebody else's house could be gone.
Okay.
I think if you're a product of your environment and you live in the environment, you know where to take shelter when things get awful. And there's a bunch of caves we haven't seen or explored that are inaccessible to most of us. But if you're there living, you just go in a cave. I don't think the fact that we haven't seen any like remains, I don't think they would be caught off guard necessarily, except for like maybe when Mount St. Helens blew up and the whole, there was a truckload of dead bodies, dead Bigfoots, and we had to stand guard and watch it and all that stuff. I mean, and when we talked about this before, you said, well, they would know it's coming, right? Because it was rumbling and stuff. Well, that thing rumbled all the time.
Yeah.
It rumbles all the time until it blows up. So if you don't know.
But here, if
you're used to the rumble.
It rained for 2.5 days before the hurricane. I would figure those larger animals would have been like, oh, it's that fall rainy season in North Carolina that we all hate. Well,
a lot of animals hunker down.
They would have. That's the other thing. Say they hunker down in a cave. Spruce Pine's a great area for caves. Now, granted,
Linville is too.
In Linville, yeah. Which means if a mudslide did happen, then it would have happened over top of their cave, and basically,
if it happened in that area where they were,
it probably did.
Well, we don't know. I mean, we're talking. You'd have to be a pretty good sized mudslide.
Yeah.
So if you got a mudslide that's like 1,000 yards wide, 3,000 feet, and you're at 5,000 feet away in a linear distance, it wouldn't get you at all.
I mean, just some of the devastation I've seen.
And to your argument, say they got caught in a landslide.
Yeah.
They're buried, maybe buried 20, 30, 40 feet below. You're never going to find anything. You won't even find people. That's part of the problem.
Yeah.
And a lot of these places that had houses and stuff that got swept away, Bigfoot's not going to hang around there.
Okay. So a good example would be everybody believes or feels that there are Bigfoot in the Linville Gorge.
Who's everybody?
Lots of people.
Well, that's just because it's creepy.
We have footage of the flooding in the Linville Falls area basically taking the whole visitor center away. And then we have footage of it actually damaging that lower falls drop. And it's just so tremendous that if there were cryptid or cryptids, I feel some of them may not have made it.
Yeah, I would. And my thought is that since that area is so heavily populated compared to being out in the middle of the woods with nobody, that they wouldn't be there to begin with. Because if they were, we'd see them a lot more.
I mean, there's even a Travel Channel episode where some dude's trying to find Bigfoot in Linville Gorge. So.
Yeah, and of course he didn't find it because if he could get there and go walking around, so can Bigfoot, and Bigfoot would know not to be there. I think you're more likely to see something like it happen like in a wide open area, like maybe New Mexico or something where you can see somebody walking across these wide expanses where there's just not enough cover to hide. But most of them would travel at night anyway. It doesn't make sense to travel during the heat of the day when it's 1,000 degrees, right? Mm-hmm. At night when it's like 60, it's cool walking. And if you got them big padded Bigfoot feet, you don't care about stepping on snakes or scorpions. You probably know what they look like and going to eat them anyway because you could see that.
People consider Linville Gorge remote.
It is remote.
And, I mean, people consider Linville Gorge a viable place for Bigfoot to be. So
Well, yeah, anywhere that's remote is popular for Bigfoot, right? So, why are you making all that awful noise?
Because I saw something.
Just leave it alone.
Okay.
So, yeah, I mean, I think all things considered, if you lived out in the woods and you knew a storm was coming, you're going to do what you got to do. If that means, hey, let's go, let's go. And also, maybe the whole idea of the sixth sense in geckos can apply to Bigfoot.
Oh,
they know. They're like, you know what? Something's coming. Let's get out of here. Because you see dogs, cats, horses, and all that stuff acting crazy before earthquakes.
Yeah.
Maybe the same thing applies. They're like, got to go.
I mean, yes.
It's time to go. And then you just pack up and go.
But I don't think all of them. I think we should have been able to find at least maybe one or two.
I think that this would have, if that had been the case, we would have seen it in the past. So, I don't know. But it is interesting.
Yeah.
But I think they're smarter than that. I think that animals like that and cryptids and all that stuff, I think that just in general, animals are way more intelligent than we are in certain aspects, and we don't give them enough credit. I think we look at them as being, they're just dumb. They don't know no better. I don't.
But I also think we give cryptids too much credit. So.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you can do whatever you got to do to make your cryptid the best cryptid ever. My Bigfoot goes behind a tree, opens a portal,
and escapes
and disappears.
Okay.
Yeah. My Bigfoot gets on aliens, gets on UFOs and goes up with the aliens because he is a drone, a bioengineered all-terrain drone.
Oh, God.
Yeah. So, my Thunderbird flies through portals. So he pops in our time, in our world, in our dimension, and then pops in. Who knows, man? I think if they exist, dude's like, hey, because you're always going to have some sort of older, elder Bigfoot, elder millennial Bigfoot, right? He's like, you smell that? I smell it. Storms are coming.
Okay.
I feel it in my sacroiliac. We got to go. And they just up and go. Or, hey, let's go get in a cave. Let's climb up this sidewall a couple 1,000 feet, hidden behind whatever. I don't know. Who knows, man? But it's a good thought, though. I like the idea behind that.
Hmm.
So speaking of the world's most haunted highways.
Great segue.
I'm not the best at segues. So.
Segues. Okay.
Segues, yes, you are correct.
Yes.
So I didn't really care so much, but I wanted to put this in here because I only really want to talk about one thing.
I've never heard. Okay.
Well, yeah, this is around the world. This is not just here.
Yeah.
The R33 is considered the most haunted highway in South Africa.
All right.
Number 2, Clinton Road in the U.S.
New Jersey.
Yeah, New Jersey.
Now, number 2.
What number was New Jersey? Number 2, right?
So, yeah. Clinton Road, New Jersey is number 2 on world, and it is number 1 on U.S.
Yeah.
And these are the most haunted highways. Now, number 2 I've actually heard of, Interstate 4 in Florida. And then, of course, number 3 is Bray Road. Okay. Yeah. Those make sense. But number 1, Clinton Road, New Jersey, I've never heard of. I'm sorry.
Me either. That means we got to look into it.
Yeah.
So I put it in here because of Bray Road. Everybody knows Bray Road. But when I was scanning through the list, I seen what I thought said number 9 road, but it's just N9. That's also in South Africa.
Yeah.
Because number 9 is where we live. There's supposed to be spooky stuff up there too. But yeah. Blood Alley in Arizona.
Yeah.
Yellowstone River Road in Montana.
Okay.
Highway to Heaven in Wyoming. That's number 7. Highway 90 in Mississippi is number 8. And here, number 9, the reason why I put it in here, Road to Nowhere, North Carolina. It's not that creepy. The tunnel is creepy. But, I thought about this, and we made video, and we heard singing.
Yeah.
And activity, and there was nobody in the tunnel because we were there when it got dark and everybody cleared out.
Yeah.
But the thing was, couldn't really hardly hear the singing at all until I went back and was editing the video. I was like, what?
Yeah.
So, that's kind of crazy, right? And then Roaring Fork Motor Trail in Tennessee. And we've been on that road. So, number 15 is Narrows Road in Kentucky. 16 is the Devil's Backbone in Texas. We were on the Devil's Backbone.
Yeah.
So we've been on some of these roads. When I started looking, I'm like, what? Number 19 is Two Mine Road. I don't think we've been on that one. And that's in West Virginia. But out of the scary roads, we've been on a bunch of them.
Yeah.
So far. Kind of weird, huh?
Yeah.
So if we ever get a, itch to do some traveling and say, we're going to do the scariest highways and roads in America. We've already been to some of them, so we could, I don't want to say skip them, but.
I'm trying to find the one, cause I'm looking at the Oregon one. I'm trying to look at some of the rest one. Oh, maybe it's that one, Highway to Heaven in Wyoming. Isn't there one, in those northern states that's, where people go missing and then the MMIW happens?
I think that's Canada.
No, well, Canada has one. But
yeah, they got one for sure.
We have one, too, that I think is, in those upper northern states. But
well, they also don't bring up the Devil's Highway, which had to change the
in
name.
New Mexico, yeah.
Well, it spans a couple different states, yeah. Through part of New Mexico, I think. So, I don't know. But there you go. Just kind of want to bring it up just to say that, yeah, we've been on some of these.
Yeah.
So, as a matter of fact, Road to Nowhere, we went on Christmas. Because that's something that we used to do a lot. Was when the holidays happen, like Thanksgiving and Christmas, we would just take a trip. Because everybody's, trying to hang around their families and stuff. And we're like, let's go adventuring. It'll be less busy. So, and sometimes it is. Sometimes it's like other people have the same idea. It's like, hey, I got an idea. On Christmas, let's go see a movie. Nobody will be there. And you show up, there's 80 people, and you're like, what? You know, Thanksgiving, let's go eat Chinese food, right? It's just busy. So I thought that was kind of neat.
Yeah.
So speaking of the world's most haunted highways, here we have Ghosts of America. And I put this in here because it has the absolute smallest web text I have ever seen.
Wait, didn't we visit this website years ago?
Yes, but I don't remember the text being that small.
But wasn't it against like some crazy ghost background? So
I don't know.
Baby steps.
Are you calling me baby steps?
No, I'm giving them a compliment. So
it's
I don't even know what size font this is.
4. It's got to be something like 4. But the thing about ghostofamerica.com is that it has some interesting things here. One of them is like ghost sightings, right? 67,399 ghost sightings as of 10/25/24. So people post ghost sightings, and this website just puts them up there.
Okay.
And so you can read about all sorts of weird stuff, right?
Yeah.
And you can kind of use it as some sort of a reference, I guess. I mean, I don't know. I think that they'll just, I don't know if they just will post anything.
Yeah.
I mean, they probably will. It seems like it's more submission based as far as the website goes. But the text was just ridiculously small. And the comments is what makes it so small.
Font size 4.
I guessed it.
Yep.
I used to make websites back in the olden days.
At least when I copy and paste into this other program, it says
it's
font
close
size
enough
4.
for me, man. I was like, holy mo. So I'm trying to find reading glasses to read some of the comments. So, and this post was posted. Okay, so like this one in Venetia, Pennsylvania, right?
Yeah.
This was posted by local gang stalkers. They're haunting, not ghosts. I think they meant to say hunting. So you can do 5 to 10 for whatever. But it just has a bunch of them, so you can kind of spend some time going through and looking at some of these, like from the one from Chester, Virginia. Because when you click on it, it takes you to an index.
Yeah.
And you kind of read from there. There, the font is a much more pleasing 14. So you go from super tiny to giant.
I can't even.
It says, if you go up to Ruffin Mill Road from 95, it becomes very windy and narrow. This part is locally known as Snake Road. If you park on the narrow part of the bridge next to Ruffin's Pond, there is a great ghost hunting place. I've heard a few different stories, but the version I remember is, if you shout into the lake, "I have your baby," 3 times, the mother will appear to retrieve her child.
Oh.
And also, automobiles are known to malfunction. Also, it doesn't help that every year some dumb teen dies by trying to drive like an idiot around the sharp turns in that area. Submitted by Snake.
Wow.
And that's from approximately 2013, right?
Yeah.
But in 2014, to hell with you, my friend, died there last year. So.
Wow.
So you could spend some time and look, because just because it happened in 2012 or 2013 or even 2014 doesn't mean it won't happen now. Especially when you go to like investigate stuff that happened in ancient times.
Wow, you can go by categories: lake, field, river, fire, attic, hospital, mirror, store, cars, eyes, shadows.
Yeah. Isn't it great?
Yeah.
So you got categories, locations, and more. And with locations, you can click your state. So if you run on down to like somewhere like, say, for example, North Carolina, the most recent ghost sightings in North Carolina, you got one in 2022 at Spruce Pine at the Pine Valley Motel, which I want to go to.
Yeah.
Clinton, North Carolina, Clayton, North Carolina, Swansboro, Cashers, basically everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
So people submit things and you can check it out. And then recent comments like from Weaverville, creepy. Lenore, North Carolina, Camp Lejeune, all that stuff. And you can actually click.
Yeah.
By so this is a great organizational database that's, probably a little old. It's a little bit old in design, but the amount of information of just reported sightings that people submit, this website has to be just fat on the back end with all the storage it takes. So they probably got grandfathered in somewhere, lifetime storage for whatever. They're just making every bit of use. Like Batcave. bat caves close to us. 4 sightings, right? I have a copy of a picture taken at the Gateway campsite near Old Fort, North Carolina, where a couple was having their picture taken. When they viewed the picture, there was a little girl dressed in maybe late 1800s clothing standing behind them. The child was as transparent as you could see at the end of the tent through her dress. The image was so plain you could actually see the smile on her face. It's almost like she posed for the picture. And this was in 2013. And then basically, of course, the comment, or one of the comments, do you or they still have the picture? And, of course, there's no answer.
Yeah.
But I have only woken up to see her in my room looking down from my door.
What in the world?
Yeah. And then I lived near Bat Cave my whole life, and I've encountered a spirit of a woman with black hair and a beautiful white draped gown. She's always barefoot, and sometimes I would see her outside my window staring up at me. And other times she ran past me, knocking me to the ground. And in any pictures where it says like nearby ghost pictures, if it's sort of close to that area, they'll put them there. This is a fantastic little website. It's huge.
Okay.
Franklin, North Carolina, Morganton, North Carolina, Bakersville, North Carolina. And you can click on the picture and you'll see what they see.
Pisgah Forest. Ooh.
Yeah. You see what I'm saying? And it looks like they cover like all the states, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a haunted waterfall here in Pisgah.
Yes.
Oh, we're going to have to find that.
It might take a while.
Yeah. Because going by these details, I still have 10 waterfalls in my mind.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's Ghost of America's,
Yeah.
ghostofamerica.com. Altogether, no spaces, right? But, yeah, you can spend some time looking, maybe come across some information you may be interested in, maybe if you're going ghost hunting or whatever. But I do like the copyright of ghostofamerica.com and then the legal disclaimer.
Okay.
Where it says, you agree use of the service at your own risk. Information provided on this site is by third parties, the operator of this website, or its affiliates do not. When I see this, I already know this website was made by a 55, 65-year-old man who thinks that this little disclaimer down here protects them against legal. And it doesn't, not at all. So, and I also see this with YouTube videos by older people.
Yeah.
Any information you see on this in this video, I can't be held accountable for, and it's like that really wouldn't stand up anywhere. But yeah, it's just sort of one of those things. When I see that, I know that the person that made this is a little bit older.
Yeah.
A little Gen X action or whatever. And just because you put copyright ghostofamerica.com, if there's no date next to it, that copyright, you can't just claim it. I'm just looking at it. I'm not trying to nitpick or say anything. I'm just saying it doesn't work. That worked back with what? Internet 1.0?
Yeah.
Or Web 1.0? I don't know. We have patrons that would know. I know one of them who does coding and stuff.
Yeah.
Probably knows all about that. Or he could care less. I don't know. But we do have patrons. So we have a Patreon if you'd like to join. But I think at this point, we're going to go ahead and wrap this podcast up unless you have something else you'd like to add.
No, I'm kind of fascinated with this site.
You go ahead and bookmark it. I did. I'm like, ooh, I'm going to check this out.
It's got some places nearby we can check.
Yes.
Actually, some of the ones that are more interesting we can't check yet.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
You know, I try to put stuff in the podcast that maybe I'd want to go to.
Yeah.
It's like maybe she'll say we can go there.
Stop.
So,
All right.
she doesn't let me do a lot of stuff.
Oh, stop it. Okay? Just stop.
Yeah.
All right.
All right, here
Thank
we
you,
go.
everybody, for tuning in. Be sure to follow us on social media. Basically, CreepGeeks Pod on any social network. You'll most likely find us. Join our Facebook group. Right now, it's a lot of memes and show suggestions. So join in and actually start a conversation. We'll appreciate it. Also, stay tuned for some updates on there.
Yeah. So on our next podcast, since somebody decided to hit our contact form and ask some questions, we'll probably talk about some of those questions. Because when I look, I'm like, man, this is a lot of work. Which is okay. I just wasn't ready for it. Yeah. So if you go to our website, creepgeeks.com, there is a contact form that you could put some information here if you'd like. So anyway, we appreciate you taking time to listen. So we'll see you later. Take it easy. Bye-bye.
Bye.